And every trigger, as you've just experienced, you're listening to a song and it activates a memory, right? So what it's doing is it's activating something that's stored in your system. And what's interesting is that every time we're triggered, so somebody pisses you off now, somebody says something now, somebody does something, right? You get triggered in the moment, but it's not what they're saying that's the issue. It's what it's representing. And so what ends up happening is, and this is what most of us didn't realize, is that we thought that, it's all about the psychology of, your mind is making up this meaning, which it is, but trauma is stored in the nervous system. So every time we experience an event growing up, dad said this or didn't say that, mum did that, they fought. We end up experiencing an event where it's not, the event itself is not the trauma, it's the interpretation of the event that decides whether it's trauma or not. So that's why you can have two siblings experience the same event and have a different recollection of it. One is frightened, one is okay. Because it's not the event itself, it's the meaning that's interpreted. And if the nervous system, believes that what you went through in that moment is stressful, then it activates its stress response, right? Fight-flight response. Yeah. And when it does that when we're children, it activates it to prepare you to run away from the threat or to hide or to fight, which is perfect. So the system is designed perfectly. So if a tiger's chasing you, the system knows what it needs to do. You're about to get hit by a car, move out of the fucking way. And so that's the beautiful thing. The problem is, though, that if we don't know how to integrate and regulate, i.e. we don't know how to somatically let go of the charge that was stored in the body, it will follow us around until we die. Meaning that at 35 or 37, something happens, chick yells at you, punch on with the missus, whatever, and it activates a stored memory of when you were 7 and you witnessed your parents fighting or your mum scolding you or your dad this or whatever, or heartbreak in primary school. Then what occurs is in the moment of you experiencing that setback, you go back to 7-year-old self and you show up as the 7-year-old version of you. So you'll activate that stress response, which is why at times, I don't know if you felt it, like, fuck, why do I feel like a kid? Oh, fuck, I can't believe I said that. That was like, really harsh or whatever. So I always say that the trigger's the gateway to heal yourself, to actually reparent yourself. And the work that I do is I help people go back in time when they're activated with something and disarm the nervous system and create safety in the body again, so that when they experience something in the now, they don't return back to a past memory in the system. So you can release it through a series of steps.
It gets released, but that's it. That's the end of it.
Correct, yeah. Now, there still might be charges here and there from other events, because everyone thinks trauma's like, a parent dying, sexual abuse, physical abuse, but that's big T trauma. But the hard one is the little T trauma. So it's those little moments of like getting lost in the shopping centre briefly, parents yelling just briefly, or, your parents' mood when you come home from school and your mother's struggling with her own emotions and you walk in the house and she doesn't smile at you because she's just punched on with somebody and she's in her head, and you look up and you're 10 and you're like, fuck, what's going on? I can't make mum happy. Does mum not love me? You start to make meaning of all of that. And so in that moment, there's an imprint that takes place.
When did all this sort of start changing? When did you have that meeting with that dude?
2019. 2019, I started this work and I did 2.5 years of just unpacking myself. And then I became a facilitator. I started learning the modalities, and then I started weaving it into all the work that I did.
Your missus would have been wise to some of this stuff that you were unpacking beforehand, obviously. Like, you would have had chats to her about your back, or were you sort of still closed off about it?
No, I was very open. I would explain my childhood like it was somebody else's story. She used to be like, what the fuck, you did this? And
it's pretty nuts.
And she'd be like, she'd be crying and I'd be just telling her from a traumatic state, from a disassociative state, like I was
a third person,
yeah. And she's like wiping, she's like, oh. But she grew up in Clayton too, and it's weird. She
I know that. Really?
Yeah, they were like close friends. She worked at Vic Roads, and so there was this 6 degrees of like, crazy. Yeah.
Everyone has 6 degrees of Clayton, man. Someone knows somewhere something. But I'm asking because like I've had that same circumstance where I'm sitting there just unpacking shit. And for me, again, like you said, it's like a third person just telling a story. Mm-hmm. Cunts are crying. I'm like, oh, it is. How did you deal with that? I'm like, got up and went to work. What do you mean? That's why I'm asking. Like, so that's
that separation of self that I was talking about.
Once
earlier.
You started unpacking it in 2019, it wasn't used.
It was showing up anyway.
Yeah.
And a marriage will bring it out. Children, 100%, and a business. And I had all three happening at the same time.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I was like, And so all of that stuff brings out all of your unresolved. I mean, it comes out in, there's a saying I say, whatever we suppress gets expressed in unhealthy ways. So it was coming out in all my partying and my drugs, my drinking and my anger, like fuck, just punching on all the time and all that shit. And then now it's like, oh shit, this is coming out to be processed,
Fucking hell, man.
So
how did you feel like just when you started unpacking it and like tearing everything apart? Was it just mood swings?
It was hard. Yeah, at the start I was like, oh, fuck, I got it. Yep, I'm good now. I can move on. And there was that high achiever in me.
Yeah.
And my guide's like, no. You're bypassing, man. You're bypassing the work. You're in your head now thinking you've got it. And then I tried to start teaching it too early when I hadn't fully embodied it.
Mm.
And then he's like, you're going to burn yourself out if you do that. And I was like, fuck. So I went back through the process.
How far do you reckon you've gone now as far as like dealing with like all that sort of past shit? Do you reckon you're out of the woods? Like, could you say it?
This is the beautiful thing about it. You're never out of the woods.
Yeah.
Like it gets clearer, but the work is never about never being triggered. It's just about how quickly can you recover from them. Because you get blindsided by stuff. Somebody says something, someone cuts you off, and you're like, most things I'm pretty good with, but there are elements where my kids, if I can't finish my thinking or my processing and I can't control that environment, or they drop stuff in the house, like that sets me off. Like they'll drop something really, like, they drop a toy, throw it from the balcony, and it hits the ground and makes a loud bang. I startle because of what I'm used to hearing growing up.
Yeah.
And it takes me a little while to recover, and then I'll come out and notice, fuck, I'm having to be in high alert here because my signal is there's a threat.
It's so weird. The first time I ever noticed myself being like my old man, someone else had said it to me. I was overseas. It was the first time I'd gone overseas as an adult. So like 24. I just turned 24. And I'm at the airport, and the group I was with, they've like sort of wandered off. And I've turned around and like I'm by myself. I'm like, what the fuck? Where is everyone?
Yeah.
And I've lost my shit. They've come back. I'm like, where the fuck were you? Like, I'm like, I went to take a piss. Like, what's the big deal? No, we're gonna. And they're just looking like, can you like relax? It's a fucking airport. We're not going anywhere. The plane, like, just chill.
Yeah.
And I just sort of stopped and went, fuck. Like, because I just remember my old man like losing his shit every time we got separated or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Because he had that fucking attachment.
Yeah,
issue.
that attachment.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hear myself now every now and then. It'll come up, and I can just hear my parents, and I'm just like, nah, dickhead, stop. Take a step back. Do you know what I mean?
But it makes sense why you hear them, though, because that's just we don't listen to what they say. We model what they do.
If you don't know, then you just go with whatever the example is.
Yeah.
One thing that annoys me in regards to trauma, like people like us, we ignore it until it creeps in.
Until we can't.
Yeah, and then yeah.
Hello. It's trauma here.
May I come in? No.
Coming in anyway. Yeah. I'm coming through the back door, mate.
Move over. All right. One thing that shits me in I like the fact that we're in 2025 and people like, say, us that grew up in these fucking like prototype fucking wog houses, we have the ability now and the foresight, and we're open to actually dealing with trauma, having mindful conversations. Mental health is a big deal in 2025, right? At the same time, you've got fuckwits that lean into it as if it stops them from doing it makes them exempt from doing basic tasks. You know what I mean? And what we class as trauma or a traumatic experience has been watered down because it makes people are in that whole fucking main character syndrome where we've lowered the expectations from individuals, we've lowered the expectations of work, all this shit.
Yeah.
And people with main character, it's not trauma, it's main character syndrome, dickhead. Like, you think you're the fucking main character in the movie. You're not.
Yeah.
You're just a worker bee like the rest of us. Do you reckon that there is a limit to, like, not limit to how much trauma you can claim back as a fucking person, but at some point, you just got to get on with it? What's your output?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Because, like, I get it, dude. Trauma can come from anything, but sometimes you just, like, people are just talking about shit. It's like, dude, that's not traumatic. You're just fucking weak. Are you for real?
Yeah.
How do you, coming from the shit that you've come from, how do you allow yourself to stay open to shit like this?
Again, that's the challenge. There's two parts to this. We're in a validation.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
We're in a validation epidemic.
I nearly choked. You can't. All right.
But it's true. We're in a validation epidemic,
100%.
which is the system to treat mental health at the moment is broken. i.e., if I'm no offense to psychologists, like, they're doing some great work out there.
Sure.
The challenge is that it's a model designed where, hey, Dimmy, how you going today? What's come up for you this week?
Well,
Oh, okay, that would have been really hard for you. Okay, let's just talk about some strategies for you to cope with that, okay?
Yeah.
How about, have you tried a bit of breathing, and did you journal a little bit? Okay, good. Yeah, well,
the
that makes sense.
Temazepam helps.
Well, and it's like, oh, they shouldn't have done that. Like, that was wrong by them, and did you tell them how you felt? Okay, well, we'll see you next week. So you got your 55 minutes. The government supports you a little bit with that. But a psychologist is not the model is not usually designed to challenge their client, because the moment you put pressure or you challenge them to confront something within themselves, they're not fucking coming back.
No.
And it's on a session-by-session basis. Secondly, it's that you're attempting again to address a feeling problem with thinking. To process in the analytical mind what's going on in here. So the issue that we have right now is that most of these people do have trauma. And again, remember, trauma is not the event itself. And this is the problem. We measure it by what's happened. It's not what's happened. It's the meaning that you attach to what happened. So it's whether or not in that moment your body felt like there was a stressful environment and it activated stress response. Then you've got an imprint of trauma. But if not, you can be looking at it and going, that person got hit by a car. 2 kids see somebody get hit by a car. One's like traumatized. I can't go out on the road anymore. That's so dangerous. The other kid looks at it and it's like, wow, lucky that car braked in time. That kid could have died. And see the significance of the crossings and whatnot. Just a different, and that will shape how they view life. So I think that the challenge right now is that, yes, there are some people that are milking it, but what they're seeking is still validation. So their mere response in, this is fucking hard and I can't cope. When your body's in a stress response, when people have been living in a survival response since the age of birth, 2 years of age, i.e., ADHD and all that kind of stuff, hyper-dysregulation, it's like trying to decide what to wear for the day can be fucking really hard for some people to work out, because the executive function part of the brain isn't developed effectively. So a lot of kids struggle from grade 6 to year 7. They've experienced trauma, their nervous system is regulated, they can't access the prefrontal cortex of their brain. So therefore they can't make executive decisions. And so they go into high school and then they start to fade away in that you really need to be able to access that part of the brain. Primary school, you can get away with it. High school, you can't. So then simple tasks become really fucking complicated.
Why can't you get away with it in high school? What's a big shift?
Because you've got to be able to access the rational part of the brain a hell of a lot more to analyze, to process and whatnot. Whereas in school, a lot of it is memory-based. You can get away with, you don't have to access as much. It's in high school is where it's like you got to start working out maths formulas, which is why I struggled a lot in high school. Primary school, I smashed it, like maths, times tables champ, all that shit. I was like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it's just repetition.
And then I tried to do maths methods in school, and I was like looking at Cindy's work. I'm like, hey, what's it? Who we ended up doing work together. She was my conveyancer. So it's crazy. And I always laugh about that.
Of course.
So I think, on that part, it's like, yes, there are some people that milk the system, but there are a lot of people that are just emotionally unwell, that haven't been treated effectively. And there are some people that are just like, oh yeah, if I just say fucking my dad bashed me a bit and whatever, then, I'm going to get payouts for whatever and I just don't have to do any work. But a lot of people are just very fragile because a lot of their emotional needs just weren't met. And it shows up later on in life. So we create drama and the void becomes the value. So if I didn't get attention growing up, I seek it later on, the right attention, which means that I want it to be about me.
What did you want to be when you were a kid?
It's funny, bro. I always like pulling apart things and fixing them, electronics and shit like that. But I'll never forget, and this is part of some of the work that I've had to do. At 15, maybe, I said to my brother, I was, smoking a bit of weed and fucking around. And he's like, oh, what are you going to fucking do, huh? What are you going to do with yourself? I said, you know what? I said, I'm not going to work with my hands and, have to fucking, do
Graft,
shit.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to make money with my mouth. Like, talking and saying stuff and, just doing things. And he's like, yeah, that's because you talk a lot of shit. I'll never forget that, man. And, I ended up becoming a Sparky. But then, lo and behold, real estate, it was less about the hands and more about, shifting
interaction
people.
and shit.
Yeah, and then now that's what it's all about. So it's fucking crazy, man.
Have you always felt like this, growing up the way you did you feel like you had your back against the wall the entire time?
Still do.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if you felt this as well, but it feels like there was just never really a clear path. Like it was almost like this, not underdog, but this like not deserving, or it does just nothing should come easy. That's the feeling that I've had, in that everything comes with so much challenge and complication. And even my wife is like, fuck, there's just no clear run here, is there? With all of the certain dynamics that have played out through family dynamics and all that kind of stuff. She's like, fuck, there's always a fire that we're having to deal with.
Yeah, I felt that, man. I know that nothing has come easy. Do you know what I mean? And it always felt like, not necessarily had my back against the wall, but not even the clear path. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to survive. You know what I mean? And so when you're looking back, and it's like, well, the ambition is to stay alive and stay fed. Fuck, what am I doing? So you're just putting your fingers in any pie just to try and get to the next piece that might be a bit bigger, and you just keep sort of going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting. You said all these changes came for you when you basically reached out and had these people step in and sort of start guiding. My big changes came as soon as I got my first professional mentor. And I was lucky. I had 2 professional mentors at the same time, vastly different. One was in STEM, one wasn't. One was in sales. And they both just started harnessing something.
STEM being the science and all that?
Technology. And I was just like, fuck.
When was that? In school days? Or?
No. Dude, this is 2018.
Yeah, okay.
Literally 2018, man. We're not talking that long ago.
Yeah.
Only then, and they were both, one of them said to me, the one in STEM said, we're having a conversation, and she's like, you should not be where you are. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, everything that I know about you that you've told me regarding your upbringing, your professional life, all this shit, you're not fucking stupid. Like, you shouldn't be where you are. Like, things should be in place for you by this point. Why haven't they? I'm like, well, I don't know. Look, she goes, fuck, nah. She goes, that, and she appointed herself as my mentor. She's like, nah, that's it. I'm taking over. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, nah, fuck this. Like, no. She goes, I've worked with dodos in like labs that have got no idea for shit that you're just picking up.
Yep.
And it wasn't me blowing smoke up my ass. It was just someone saying, giving you that recognition of like, dickhead.
She could see what was in you that you maybe could see at times, but just wasn't able to harness.
But again, when you grow up not having that validation, you know what I mean? It all plays, and that's the thing.
But here's a kicker. So the thing that was missing from you, and maybe your dad, as an example, was the thing that was missing for him. That's why it wasn't available.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
As much as they want to say that they had it there.
They had it in the only way they knew how. So there are times where I look and go, fuck my dad, this and that, but yet, you know what, he still stuck around and showed up and he didn't have to, and there's all that other side.
Exactly.
And it's like, fuck, they actually only did it to their capacity.
Yeah, I remember my old man said that once to me, like, we're having, like, something had happened, I can't remember what it was just me and him, and he's like, when shit hit the fan around here, and like, we all separated, blah, 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 I could have been going out, I could have done this, I could have done that. I'm like, man, you probably should have. Like, you probably would have been a better person for yourself. You know what I mean? And I actually had that conversation with him once years ago, and I said, if you sorted this out for yourself and put yourself in a better place just for you, everyone around you would have felt that the effect of that. It's interesting.
But I remember your dad a bit like being, somewhat. I remember him being the basketball coach.
See, I don't remember that at all.
We went to the Chatty to get some uniform stuff.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he was. I'm pretty sure he was the coach for that.
I don't fucking remember.
I can't remember our team name.
But see, that's the thing.
He was somewhat involved, and I remember him kind of encouraging, or at least maybe it was criticism more like, what are you doing to me? He was on your back a little bit, like, wanting you to do
I'll
stuff.
say that about him, man, and I've said it before, like, he always wanted to be involved. Like, didn't matter. He'd work his ass off all week, but Saturday he'd take us on a bike ride somewhere. Sunday was day off from work, so we'd do something. He had that, like, he tried to have that balance. I give him that. He tried his hardest. Do you know what I mean? But it was the capacity for all the other shit. It's weird. Like, when someone had asked me what I want to be, and I'd said, I want to be a writer, I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. The one...
Because you're pretty creative, man. Like, you still are, obviously.
Yeah. Well, because it's escapism, man.
Yeah, but or channeling,
Yeah, but, like, think about it. Like, I mean, in high school, right, you dealt with your shit, social anxiety, by being you were a hyperachiever and blah, 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 and you'd left and you went to another school because you just getting sick of being blamed for shit, right? Yeah. But we had different childhoods in that, man. I was fucking bullied through high school. Yeah. I was bullied through primary school. Do you know what I mean? Escapism for me was music and drawing and writing, because I could create shit that was Not mine, but I could take credit for, but it was my product. Though. It was, you know, all my feelings and shit went into all that stuff, man.
Which is huge. And it's funny that you say that because, and hopefully this lands for you, and this is the thing that I get my clients to get to.
Here we go.
So
I'm sitting up. Okay.
So remember I said the void drives the value earlier. Well, the beautiful thing about everything that we've been through and everything that you've been through, the fact that you were put in a position where you experienced the bullying, experienced the conflict at home, unsure of yourself, lack of direction, all of that, in your younger years, it created a superpower. So
I'm listening.
So what ends up happening is that, and this is the beautiful thing about trauma, it's like, fuck, yeah, but I don't want to go back there, Fabien, and like that was bad, and fuck. It's like that our gift actually comes from all of the stuff that we missed, the hardship that we experienced. So this ability to perform, to connect with people, to land on my feet, to kind of always stemmed from the fact that I had all this disruptive upbringing. You and your creativeness and you know, your artisticness and all that stemmed from the fact that you're being bullied and you had to find a way to channel that energy and yourself into something to make yourself feel better, right?
Yeah.
It was a form of release. And here's the beautiful thing about it, is that a lot of the times we stay stuck and we lose sight of purpose because that thing that we haven't been able to integrate back then, our superpower, our unresolved trauma, when it's still unresolved, becomes our kryptonite rather than our superpower. And it's fascinating. So the person who's super creative but is not able to get that out gets really frustrated, resentful, angry, bitter, and it shows up in other ways because they're not able to harness the gift that they actually have because it's kind of wrapped in crap.
Yeah, at the same time, man, things like creativity aren't rewarded the way they should be, right? It's not recognized. You don't get the
not how it used to. So it's like you got to get deeper with the creativity and find a way to channel it into this kind of business fucking.
Monetizing it's almost impossible, right? And it's not going to. Average Joes like me aren't going to be able to monetize it because I don't fucking have a face for Instagram. I don't have an ass for Instagram.
Well, but the thing is, here's the kicker.
Hang on. Don't fucking cut me off, bro. All right, I'm not paying for this yet. Okay, hang on. The problem is creativity in 2025 has been watered down, like validation and all that sort of shit, right? Creativity now just stems from fucking content that people can create using fucking apps on their phone. People aren't going to sit there and, you know, do the shit that we did creatively, like back then. The difference, the one thing that I'm going to use as a point of difference, right, is it's this song lyric, fucking Five Finger Death Punch, man. Things could be worse, but it should have been better, right? I don't want to hear about kryptonite and superpowers and shit like that now because, like, hang on, man, I've got 40 years of fucking trauma. I should never have gone through the shit that I went through. It's unfortunate I did, and there are people way worse off than me. And like I said at the very start of this chat, there are arseholes walking around that have no idea the level of impact. There could be people sitting there right now in an office, he's messaging his wife, he's saying something to his kid who's in third year of primary school.
Yeah.
He's got no idea how he fucked with me, like, for the first 6 years of school and where it sits with me now. All the trauma work I'm going to do now to get past it, sure. But when that dickhead, if I see him in the street and suddenly a brick falls and lands hits him in the back of the head, be like, what a tragedy, what happened? Yeah. It's like, tragedy? I've had 20 years of therapy for this shit. You know what I mean? That's my big thing.
I hear you.
It could be worse.
That's the challenge, though. So the challenge is that the root of all suffering is, you know, I call it shoulding.
Yeah, okay.
We should all over ourselves. So, and any time one of my clients has a should, they shouldn't, I shouldn't have, or they shouldn't have, it creates a separation of the reality of what we went through or where we are and the fantasy of where we think we should or could be, which creates that
irrelevant
tension.
Yeah, it's
that's the hard part. But coming back to the creative side, man, if you look at Instagram and stuff right now, like there's guys that are just doing, you know, funny skits and whatnot that are getting millions of followers, but there's a whole bunch of faceless accounts now making millions that are just kind of putting images of stock footage or whatever, and they've got a voiceover of whatever. So I think the old ways of, you know, creativity, it is a lot harder, like to be a painter and to have people purchase the painting as an example. It's like, I actually saw a funny clip on that today, a guy getting money from a bank by painting his own paintings and getting them valued by a bank, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and then putting that up as collateral to get lending against, he wants to borrow $60,000. He's like, well, I got $60K worth of paintings, these bullshit paintings that he's painted. And I was like, fuck, that's instead of putting a house up as collateral, I thought, fuck, that is brilliant. But yeah, it's just now the age of fucking, Instagram and whatnot. It just requires a different level of creativity. But here's the kicker. It's that what we went through is what we went through, and we can't change that. Why? Because it's what we went through. But there's always a gift in all of it. Now, it doesn't mean that what we went through is okay and other people should. But the beautiful thing about the work that I teach is that when I can help people get to the other side and see the duality through every situation, to neutralize the negative, to neutralize the pain so they can balance themselves out in the universe, then what becomes available is the unique gift of your own adaptability of when you're a child going through the bullying, going through all of these things. There is actually a gift in all of that, your ability to connect with people, which is why you're so successful in the work that you do now, right? In like 5 minutes in, hey, you got the job. Like that has been derived because of what you went through growing up.
Yeah, I get
and it's
that.
like, so there's something probably right under your nose if you're looking at that next level of whatever your career may look like that is actually going to be channeled from all of the stuff that you went through growing up.
It's weird. One of
the mess becomes the message, bro.
You got like a book of these just ready to go. You got to write a book about them, you fucking freak. I'm going to start ripping them off. I'm going to create memes, and I'm going to quote you on the bottom. But I'm going to get an Instagram account with 1 million followers with your quotes. Fuck him.
Just give me 5%, bro. 5%. That's it.
I'll have it under a different name, different pseudonym. Someone clues up like, dude, didn't you say that to me like 2 weeks ago?
Isn't that what Jay Shetty was getting shafted for? He's like, he was, I don't know. There was one
quote. It'll just be my account following me, and that's it. Not even you. You're blocked, like from my end. You can't even find it. I was going to say it's interesting. The one line that the first tat on my sleeve was this no thing, and the line here is "Dreams don't come with silver lining." That was a lyric from an old glam fucking thing. For me, like you can interpret that any way you want. For me, it's interesting because that was in 2017, pretty much around the same time I got that first professional mentor, and I started seeing certain things. For me, dreams don't come with silver lining means that you can have your dream, but there's always going to be shit that's going to come up. There's always going to be shit you're going to have to deal with. It's not going to be perfect the way you picture it. Do you know what I mean? You could say you have your dream job, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. There's still going to be trauma. There's still going to be issues.
Correct.
So, and it's got me thinking like, fuck, man, like I could achieve everything I want, but I'm not going to fix anything. You know what I mean? It's not going to fix everything that's ever happened. It's not going to make everything right. And it's not going to be easy. Some things are still going to happen every day, and you got to start looking past
Correct.
that.
100%.
For me, the big thing, coming out of high school, like what I knew I wanted to do was I didn't want to be reliant on anyone, and I wanted to get further than my parents had. As in, I didn't want to be looking down the barrel at like say 30 and not being secure in any way. I needed something like moving forward. So, I mean, that's why I've always sort of hustled. Like, everyone, it's weird. I run into people I haven't seen in like 15, 20 years. I tell them a bit about what I do, and they're like, you always did that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you're always busy. You're always investing in yourself without even realizing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I say it like, it's weird, man. Yeah, because like,
the void drives the values, brother. See? That's the thing. It happens unconsciously, bro. Other people are pointing it out to you.
Buy now for 1995. 30 days.
The Void to Value memoir.
What's your course called? Like, what's your main starter?
Living purposefully aligned. Living purposefully aligned.
Living purposefully aligned. Are there any other sub packages?
Oh, there's like the reset method is like my signature. The reset experience, actually. You got to come to the next one, actually. So the reset experience, 3-4 hour
I'm going to come with like hidden lapel, hidden mic, hidden camera.
Yeah.
Gone underground.
Yeah.
Expose. Charlatan shaman.
Oh, that's fucking gold. Oh, that's the best.
That's the name of this episode. Yeah.
Hey, it's Ricky here from A Current Affair. Oh, bro, you
no
killed
questions.
It. Yeah. And how much do these people pay to be here? Oh, they just tapped into their super, but...
Charlotte and
Charmin.
Done. I'm naming this part. I'm naming it.
That's a fucking Instagram channel that will go viral.
Charlotte and Charmin.
Oh my God. And you just do skits on, okay guys, we're just going to check our chakras now. I'm doing a live chakra reading. Stream in. It's $100 a minute.
We actually talked about it on the last episode we did, man. Those fucking resets that they do in Bali that they invented purely for white women to go there. You know where they pour the fucking hot water on you with all the lily pads and then you get the women to scream?
Yeah.
Dude, that's not even a Balinese thing. That's literally for Westerners to feel like they've tapped into their void.
It is the next, like, the wellness industry right now is going to go through an explosion. Like it already is, but like some of the biggest nightclub owners in the globe are now moving into the wellness space and creating retreats and whatnot. Like, it's like...
For 20 years, you were snorting coke in our bathrooms. Now, join our retreat.
And, fuck, bro. You do that so good, bro. That's the best. I love it, man.
Hey everyone, just pumping the brakes for a second. If you've made it this far and you haven't already, please subscribe to our Spotify, YouTube and social media accounts. It may just leave you feeling a little bit naughty. And now, back to the episode.
No, you're not wrong, man. 100%. How do you feel? Okay, hang on. Firstly, let's go into your program and then we'll delve into the charlatans.
Sure.
All right, so... What your signature one?
Yeah, so the reset experience is kind of the go-to. It's the go-to.
Hang on. It's
the go-to.
The reset experience. Yeah. I literally picture you throwing someone in a blank room. We'll take your car keys. We'll take your wallet, your phone. It's just like you're reset.
Yeah.
What?
A bit like
bank accounts drained.
The Total Recall. No, is it Total Recall?
Where it goes. They implant the memory.
Oh, bro,
you got what you wanted.
Yeah. Come on, hit the reset.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, bro, fuck.
I'm not taking a piss.
I missed this, bro. Shit, it's bringing back so many memories, man. Doing the voices and shit.
The reset method. Just taking his shit.
Yeah. Everyone rocks up. It's like, give me your phone. It's like, reset. There you go, mate. That's $400. Thanks.
This isn't mine. Fuck off. I pull up in a van, dump them somewhere in Port Melbourne.
Technology's frying your brains. Everyone hand in your phones. Cool. And then on Marketplace.
See, that's Clayton.
Yeah. There's always a side hustle, bro.
We grew up a street apart.
There's always a side hustle going on, bro.
All right, okay. Tell me about the reset method.
Fuck, bro.
Not taking the piss, legit.
Reset experience, man. It's the simplest way. Here's the thing. It's like a lot of people go, hang on, what's this fucking stuff? Like, I get therapy and I get kind of, shadow work, some of the terms in like inner child work, somatic work. But like when you try to explain it to somebody, it kind of makes sense. Yeah. Like you've made sense of some of what I've shared. Yeah. But the issue is, again, for it to land and the embodiment part. So now I've got this program, this experience. It's 4 hours. It's an event. You come, no expectations. You come in, and I've had guys come and gone, all right, I'm like, you just got to come. And they're like, well, what am I going to expect? I'm like, nothing. Just come. Fuck, okay. They come out and they're like, what the fuck was that? But yeah, it's just an opportunity to come in, and there's 3 parts to it. There's this whole... My 3 pillars: learn how to create safety in the body. Then you can have the capacity to integrate all the shit that you've been through in the past. And then the last part is embodiment. Now, how can you show up in life being fully embodied with all of those parts of you that have been neglected, that have been that? How can you bring that into the now and channel that? And remember, turn the kryptonite into the superpower. So the reset experience is a nice gateway for people to come in, experience my breakthrough breath work, do the value void exercise that I have. So I've got this process on helping you. Like I have this saying, which is a man who doesn't create a vision for his future always returns to his past. And so every time I kept finding myself reverting back, it was when I looked up, there was no real vision of the future. We default to the past.
On having said that, man, do you feel like people set too high? I mean, where can you determine what too high of a goal is, or when it should stop? Or should people always be looking for goals?
Well, that's the thing. Opinion. I was in the goal setting space for ages. That was the Brian Trey, all that. You got to set your goals, man. You got to double, all of that stuff. And it got to the point eventually I was like, fuck, man, these don't mean anything anymore. Like literally don't mean anything. And now I'm in the space of setting intentions and having a vision. and then surrendering to the process. So the process now is forget about 5 years from now, I'm going to have this much money and all that. That's all the logistical sides of things.
Yeah.
It's more about 10 years from now. What is my life going to look like? What am I going to be? What am I going to do? What am I going to have? How am I going to experience my life? How do I want the people around me to remember me? And then recognizing the type of person that I want to be, what I want to have and what I want to do, and then channeling that into the now. So it's not about going 10 years from now, that's how I'm going to be. It's actually getting very clear on what that's going to look like and begin living it today.
Yeah, see,
how would the 10-year version of me interact with seeing old mate when the brick is falling down?
Yeah.
The previous version of me will go, ha! The other version of me is like, oh, fuck, all right, you know. So it's just deciding, fuck, how is it I want to show up in this moment? So people that say, fuck, I've got this big decision, Fabien, I've got this career, I've got this business, I'm afraid I don't know. My job is to help them unlock the inner wisdom that's already there. There's already a fucking knowing inside of you. All of this creativeness and all of this stuff that's starting to click together, you've had to walk down this path that's been fucking hard, but actually it'll all click together once you surrender and actually recognize that was a path that you had to go down because there's some beauty that's going to come of it. It's just that a lot of us get stuck in only the pain and we can't get to the other side to then be able to channel that in ways where, like, you're changing people's lives.
Okay, so you're doing the first part, the void.
Yep. The void values,
right.
And then we go into the breakthrough breath work. We go into a guided hypnotic meditation that I run. They're fucking powerful. That's where I help you go back in time, reconnect with your younger self, bring that younger self into the moment, see what you've achieved. There's a process that's fucking mad. And then we go into our breath work.
How'd you go developing that process for the...
Fuck, everything that I've been through, man. Everything that I've been through and all of the programs that I went through, and I started looking at...
How do you present it? You present it as you're presenting
right now? I reverse
right
engineered, actually, all of my stuff that I did and where it worked well, where it didn't work well, and where it wasn't clicking. And fundamentally, what I'd recognize is that change is fucking hard because if we don't know how to create safety in the body, then change is not possible, permanent change. I.e., if we don't know how to turn off the alarm in the system, then nothing else becomes available. It's always there's always stress, there's always anxiety, there's always this pattern. So the first pillar is just create that safety. And I'd recognize I was skipping that a lot and trying to move into all the other stuff, the doing. But if we haven't created safety in here and alignment in here, then the doing becomes really fucking hard. It's like that backpack that we keep dragging around, it's heavy, and you're like, fuck, why is this so hard?
Yeah.
Why can't this be effortless? When you see other people doing it what seems effortless, and you're like, motherfucker, why is this guy doing it like he's doing it in his sleep?
Yeah, look, trauma's baggage, yeah? You can't be carrying it forever. That's just the way
we do.
You're not designed to.
We do. Our parents did.
When you wake up at 40 and your back hurts, it's not because you're fucking tired. It's because you're tired of the fucking bricks.
Yeah, 100%. You're carrying all that shit, the pain in the shoulders and the hips. It's stored in the body.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the thing.
So hang on. All right.
So reset experience. First place.
Let me ask. How do you present your actual method and like your programs and stuff like that? The same way you're talking now? Is it more structured? Is it like script?
Oh, there's a training that I have online that people watch.
Yeah.
But really, I say to people, it's not something that I can. It's not something that's easy for me to tell you. It's easy for me to show you.
Yeah.
Better for you to experience it. Come in, try it out. It's a couple $100.
Yeah, whatever.
If you don't like it, get your money back. All that kind of shit.
How long does it take? Like
4 hours, 3.5 hours. The proper reset experience is a 4-hour event.
Okay.
There's a short breakthrough experience, which
do you
is
have ongoing sort of events for people like going through it?
Yeah. I got a coaching program. Like what's today?
The Monday.
Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, I do a group coaching call. I've got a container of 17, 18 clients in there where they're working through these pillars that we go through to just get the nervous system back online, deal with the relationship stuff like childhood trauma, current trauma, all that, and then start living very intentionally, getting clear on their vision.
Okay, so there was the breath stuff.
The reset experience is the segue into now if you want to go deeper in the work and the people are like, fuck, so much stuff opened up to me, I want to clear it all, then they're like, hey, how can I work with you? And then they come into my purposefully aligned container, the community.
Okay.
So we do, a blend of one-to-one coaching and group stuff. And then there's a whole series of steps that they go through.
How much resistance do you find at this, like at the first day one, like you got 20 new heads that have come in?
It's interesting, man. It's, I just came out of a 4-day intensive, so being coached myself through my mentor.
Yeah.
Finished today. And everything that you experience in life is a mirror reflection of what you're experiencing inside. So when my clients are very resistant and hesitant and unsure, it's because there's a part of me that's resistant and unsure as well. So everything gets mirrored back to you. So sometimes I'm trying to rush them, like, you got to fucking get it. Like, you got to be committed. You got to do this. And not recognizing that for some people, it's like the first place that they've got to be able to get to is, can I just create safety in their body? Because if they can't, and I haven't created safety in that relationship, then they're not inspired or able to change. But sometimes you forget that because the overachiever in me wants to get the results. Because if they crack through, I'm a fucking great coach. Do you get me?
Yeah, no. Okay, so hang on. With your clients, typically, right? How long have you been tracking that relationship, like from the point of like, reaching out, point of contact, before they come in?
Sure.
Typically, how much communication do you have?
Before they come in? Or,
Yeah. Before they come in to do it?
A couple of conversations.
Like
They've listened to my podcast or whatever, and so they know me.
They know who you are. Typically, they're coming to you because they've
experienced something. Yeah, they've experienced something. Something I've said makes sense. Like the upbringing resonates, the drugs resonate, the
whatever. Yeah,
whatever. But and I've never worked with a client longer than 12 months. So they usually stay in for up to 12 months in my container.
Why is that?
Well, that's just. Well, this offer's been 12 months, so this is my first kind of 12 months of this offer. Before then, I'd work with people on a one-to-one basis for 3-month engagement, 6-month engagement, 9-month. But because my market was predominantly people having relationship issues, the lifespan is a little bit different. Whereas when I was doing business coaching or sales consulting, I'd have clients for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Why? Because business is growing. They want to make more sales.
Yeah. 100%.
Whereas now they've either rectified their relationship or they've been able to separate amicably in a way where they're not damaging the kids and whatnot, and they recognize, this relationship's no longer serving anymore, and then they go and find a new relationship and they're utilizing all the principles. Part of the reason why they don't stay with me forever is because I don't sell them to me forever. I actually give them the key. I don't give them the key. I help them find the key that they always had.
Yeah, it's not like
they learn the tool to use themselves.
It's not like drugs where you're going to be on, pills for the rest of your life.
Well, I could create it that way.
No.
I could have.
It's not in your best interest. No. Your goal is to just get people running on being autonomous.
Give them the tools, man, and it's like, hey, you can do this for yourself, and then you can do it for your kids, and then you'll forget, and then you might want to come in and learn facilitation to get better at it. That's another program down the track. But for now, it's like, here are the tools. Keep practicing it.
Do the work.
And be the work. Just,
It's interesting what you said about in regards to, having a vision for your life in, say, 10 years and then learning to live it now, right? It's sort of like the same with me. One thing was like, I always knew what I wanted my life to look like. A lot of it was autonomy, right? Being autonomous in regards to decisions I make regarding my life, myself, and being self-sustainable, so earning income and being able to just sort of be able to take the holiday when I wanted it, be able to make decisions to go do shit, have choices, have options, right?
Yeah.
Which is why, like, I work 7 days a week because I'm making up for lost time, because I never allowed myself to see past the work as in, like, 9 to 5 or work, whatever hours I was doing, pay the bills. I can't leave this box because this is the only option I have. Until the mentors opened up the gates for me. It's like, dude, you could do so much more. That's when I started seeing it. Interesting though, for you, your life has done like a 180 from, like, say 15 years ago, 20, walking out of the gates of, say, high school. Did you always see, what was your vision as far as then, outside of just getting fucked up on weekends or whatever? What did you actually want for yourself, like, being older, at an older point, later stage in your life?
At that time, man, I was in survival state, so it was very short-term thinking. I was like, electrical was what it was. I got paid well. It was, it fed into the wound of being recognized and the validation. Like, oh, you're an electrician. Oh, wow. You're like, that kind of shit. And so I was just, to be honest, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I was in a pretty dark place of just getting fucked up and writing myself off every week. Like, I was in the, what nightclub? How long can I stay at Revolver for? That was my, how many pills can I have? That was just...
Yeah.
I had glimpses of it. There were times where I'd wake up and I'd go to work and it was the same conversation. I'd be feeling crap for 3 days. Come Thursday, everyone's like, all right, gearing up for the weekend. What are you getting on? It was that thing. And I'd recognize, I'm like, fuck, culturally, this job site mentality was very much about getting fucked up anyway. Yeah, so it was all promoted. And I was like, fuck, man, is this kind of what I'm going to do? Like, and then the minds came to, like, shit, it'd be nice to be away, get out of this hole that I'm in. And then, that's how the minds came about. And then I was always looking for leadership and climbing. I'd climbed up the ranks in electrical and stuff and got to supervisor position. So there was always this desire to be at the top of wherever I was. But it was never a clear path early on until I got reminded in my first breakthrough session of with my coach when we did the deep healing work, when I got taken back to a scene of about 11 when my parents were punching on and I couldn't understand like why this kept happening, and me running into my house crying saying, fuck this, I'm going to work out why this is happening. I'm going to make sure no one else has to go through this. That had been locked away. Yeah. And so somehow unconsciously pivoting and climbing and adjusting and going through all of these doors and working out that this is not the door for me, there was this underlying current of me almost trying to get back to that of like, and hence now I'm in this space of helping people, and now I know exactly why that kind of shit happens in homes between, people that are having conflict. So, and then that got brought back to me, massive breakthrough. I was like, holy fuck. No wonder I've ended up real estate, lounge rooms. No, this is not right. What is it? And then...
What about your kids? Like, I mean, how much of you are you going to actually share with your kids? I mean, when they're older, obviously can understand it and be receptive to it. Are you going to take them through the whole path of who you are? Or are you going to keep it closed? Like, I'm
no. I mean, it's readily, once they learn how to use Google be better, they'll hear my story online. It's fucking everywhere.
Legit.
No, 100%. Oh, definitely. No, I don't want to. The thing is, I want to normalize a lot of the stuff for them because they idolize me, but I don't want them to think, like, they already know that I had a pretty big car accident with a mate. We nearly died, and I nearly went to prison. My friend nearly died, and and so they understand that because at times they ask me, "Oh, Dad, go faster." And sometimes I'll speed, but within the speed limit,
to them, they hear a rev gauge,
like that. And I explained to them, I said, no, guys, you need to have your seatbelt on. Daddy had a pretty big accident. Oh, what happened? I was like, when my mate comes over, I'm like, that's who Daddy had the accident with, and Leo, he doesn't forget. Oh, yeah, you had that accident, Dad, and then what happened? And now he's asking me questions. So very much try to bring in all of this stuff at the right age that they're at, and normalize a lot of these conversations. I think it's important for them to understand that because on the one part, my brother tried to help me avoid all of that stuff, but I didn't understand the real impact of it all. Had I been exposed maybe to all of the other stuff, and I may have been a bit more different in how I made decisions there. So at least with my kids, I can say to them, it's going to seem really cool to want to get in the car with your friend who's drinking and who wants to be really erratic. And it's like, and then just explaining to them that I thought that was cool, and that nearly cost me, 3 people nearly died and only went to jail for 5 years, 6 years in that kind of thing that really, and these kind of scenarios of like drugs, like it's going to be really tempting. There's going to be a part of you that's going to want to say yes because you're going to want to feel like to belong and to not be left out and to be an idiot and whatever. And, and then just try to make some kind of commitment with them around that. Hey, it's like, if you feel like you really want to do that, let me know and I'll make sure I get you the better stuff,
Just take a left here, take a right there. Trust you, man. Mention my name.
Go see Johnny from the get an Amadura Park, right, at 6 p.m.
Fucking Nammers, man.
But so that's it. I don't know, man. It's just kind of try to communicate it at the right ages, and
that like trips me out. Like you're fucking entering 40 sort of thing, and you got like kids now that you're responsible for and all that. That's anxieties that I don't have.
Scary, man. It is. It's like, whew,
how do you deal with
see how they're being influenced already. Like,
well, that's what I was going to say.
In school and by people.
I hear it. Like my mate's biggest issue now is how their kids are being like, all the teachers I know, they complained like in the last, say, 20 years, they all complain about the same thing, that parents aren't pulling their socks up, aren't being involved with their kids, and just expect schools to fucking teach them.
Parents don't have influence. That's the problem at the moment.
Parents don't have influence, and a lot of the
why
parents...
though? They don't have time.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
There's school for 8 hours, and then come home and then do soccer and whatever, and then get dinner ready, and then there's this short window before they go to bed where you're going to try to influence their life when everyone's fucking tired.
35 minutes. I'm not going to listen to you. Yeah. So what do you do?
Unschool. I don't know. But that's the challenge. Like a friend of mine's a principal, vice principal at a school, 1,000 students, and he's got a massive story around trauma, sexual abuse and whatnot, and he's gone out public speaking about it, but he's like, most of the parents are coming in asking the teachers to discipline the kids. we can't control them. You know, can you guys, you know, you've got more authority.
Half the time, teachers don't even have the authority to freaking do it, man. Like, they've got to be mindful, you know, of shit that is... Dude, your child isn't special needs. Your child's just a prick. You know what I mean? How do you go about, like... I remember... how do you go about, like, disciplining your kids, man, in regards to that space? I mean, you're aware of what's norm now and what we went through.
It's hard, man.
I know.
I was writing it out today about a market of ours, like parents. No parent wants to feel inadequate. So the moment you point to a parent where they're not doing a good job, there's guilt that they already carry for all the fuck-ups that they've done. So it's tough. And I think for me, it comes down to time. So, you know, one of our processes at the moment is how can we create the right level of income where the kids don't have to go to school and we can actually be traveling Australia in a caravan and living life on our terms and getting our children exposed to, you know, we've got the veggie garden at home, I've got chickens at home, got all this kind of stuff to just get them grounded. Leo started a business, he's 6, he bought these things online for a couple of bucks. I showed him, he bought it with his own money and then he's selling them to his friends for $5 and showed him that he's got some of his goals that he wants to achieve. It's like, cool, man, you can achieve those things. Let's work out how to do it. So,
hang on, wait. For the record, how old is your son?
6.
6.
Yeah.
And he's already got
started a little business.
It's like an entrepreneur mindship of like what goals are, setting them.
Yeah, they've got vision boards. They've all got vision boards. They've all got in their room. They've got like Lamborghini, Roger Federer, like trophies, athletic stuff on there.
You realise how fucking like foreign that is to most people, most kids entering high school, right?
Yeah.
No, you recognise that.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing that, it's just like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
I should bring him around to go like see some kids I know, like to just get them in line. How did you go about implementing that from like an early age? You got an idea, but like...
I think it's just everything that I was exposed to and like in my development and then what I wasn't exposed to growing up. It's like looking at, again, the void. Fuck, all right, well, you know, if I can share with him these things and work out what their interests are and then just help channel that. So, you know, they try different sports, usually not more than one at a time as well, so we're not doing fucking...
Yeah, so they can stay focused
they're just too overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I'm happy to get them to school late or pull them out early anytime. Like, we're going to be off for a month next 2 weeks. We're going to travel the East Coast with some cousins. And, yeah, I'm happy for them not to be indoctrinated in the system because I know that the system doesn't actually serve them. You know, it doesn't teach them how to think. It just teaches them what to...
At the same time, do you recognise that, like, structure and shit like that's important?
Structure, I call it like freestyle within a framework.
Okay, because I agree. The
they go to bed every night, same time.
I agree the system doesn't serve them the way it should. At the same time, they do need to recognise, this is my opinion, they still do need to recognise some form of structure, authority, like boundaries, all that shit.
100% boundaries. They've got to understand respect. Like, we've got values up on our house.
I hate laissez-faire parents, man. They think that, like, everyone should be just
not just free will and say whatever you want.
It shits me, man. I can't.
Like, we've got our values up in our dining area, so it's like respect, which we created together. I said, what's important to you, Leah? What do you like? How do you like people treating you? Do you like them treating you this way or that way? And then they started to drive the conversation, and we've got respect, listening, fun, love, connect, all that kind of stuff. There's about 10 up there. And then any time we're not acting in accordance to these values, when someone's out of line, like if I've been too assertive, whatever shit, you know what, guys, Daddy wasn't acting.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry. And then it's like, so I keep reverting, and then I'll say, Leah, hey man, how do you feel like what's going on up there? Do you feel like something's missing? It's like, he's not respecting me, or I'm not respecting. It's like, okay, cool. What do we need to do? It's like, better say sorry.
You've just blown my fucking mind because I'm just trying to think back to like my childhood and how we were raised and stuff. The disassociation between me and my parents. I remember it's not the first time ever, but I just remember the one thing you never wanted to see was your parents being hypocrites. Do you know what I mean? Never owning up to shit. Never accepting when they were actually wrong. That's when, as a young adult or a child, it's like, nah, you know what? You're full of shit. Like, I don't cop this. Like, this is bullshit. That's when you start questioning the system that you were within. That's when you start. That's when there's a mutiny. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so what you're doing, man, you're holding yourself accountable to the values that you're espousing. Which, dude, our fucking parents never did.
Nah, never.
There
was never an apology. There was never a repair.
No.
And that's a huge part of the work. It's like, There's always going to be ruptures in life. In every relationship, in everything that we do, there'll always be a rupture.
That's
the
insane.
The question is, how quickly can you come to the realization of a repair? Because here's the thing. When we don't say sorry and when we don't recognize, like, hey, son, I yelled, I got really angry, or I squeeze your cheek, like if you're saying silly things and I come in and I'll squeeze his cheek, like, don't you dare say that. I lost control of my emotions. You know, I shouldn't have yelled, shouldn't have squeezed your cheek. I'm really, really sorry, and I'm working on that. What you said really bothered me, but I lost my power. I lost control.
How often do you find yourself saying something like that, man? Just curiously.
At least once a week.
You kidding?
At least.
Once a week?
At least once a week. Bro, I've got 3 kids under the age of 6.
I know, but like,
so
the fact that you're fucking... that you've done enough work to be able to have that conversation and actually admit that blows my fucking mind, man.
At the start, it wasn't as much because I was in the process of learning this stuff. Yeah. And what I'd recognize is my eldest was displaying the same traits. Yeah. Didn't want to apologize when he hurt his little brother. Never wanted to take ownership. Yeah. And it's like, children mirror what they see. So it's like, fuck, where am I not apologizing? Where am I not taking ownership? Fuck. Just because I'm the parent and I think that I'm superior and that this is my way. It's like, well, if I want to instill values in my child that I love to see and experience from them, it actually has to come from fucking me. I have to instill those values first so that they embody it, because they don't listen to what we say, they fucking follow what we do. The problem is we're not paying attention to what we do because it's like, hey, don't you talk about that? Yeah. Smoking's bad for you. You don't smoke. Even drinking alcohol. I stopped drinking in the last 2 years. I've been off alcohol for like a year and a half. Back on it here and there.
But like,
occasion or whatever.
Socially, because it's a wedding and you have a glass of champagne. Yeah, okay.
My father-in-law would come over. I'd have a beer with him usually, a VB. He loves his VB. And my kids like start going to that fridge. Oh, Dad, you should do his favourite drink. I'm like, oh, man, these guys are getting primed and they idolise me. When they get offered that at 10, they're not going to knock it back when they're at somebody's house. They're going to be like, yeah, my dad drinks this and I love my dad. So bang.
Yeah. Dad.
So now I've had to explain to them, even these bundies that I got in the fridge that are non-alcoholic, Leo will pull it out. I was like, Dad, you want a beer? Like that? And I'm like, oh, that's actually not a beer. I'm like, well, it is a beer, the ginger beer one. I'm like, well, it says beer, but it's not. I said, so I have to explain the difference and get him to recognize every time I'm opening a can, it's some random can that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's a soft drink or it's a whatever.
You just sort of touched on it, man. How do you go about dealing with other people that would be in contact with your kids that would go about spannering up your fucking work? So I'm thinking grandparents, I'm thinking like friends, teachers. How do you go about asserting your fucking...
Yeah, that's a sticking point, man.
I know, because you know why, man? Because I'm in the camp of like, fuck you. Like, these are my kids. You fucked me up. I'm not going to let you do that.
Yeah. It's strong boundaries, but with a boundary comes conflict.
Exactly.
So, like, you can't... It's impossible to have a boundary without experiencing pushback.
100%.
And so it's like... So there's that to deal with, and then there's a whole... Well, we raised you, or what do you think? I'm stupid. I don't know how to raise. Like you know. So there's that component.
See, but I've had the balls to have that conversation. I'm not raising kids, but I've literally said yes.
Well, you are. There's a little boy inside of you that you're raising.
I'm fucked. Okay, I went. What are you talking about? I'm telling you. Like A, B, and C. That had nothing to do with me. What do you mean? Like it's all relative.
That's
mate.
the heart, and that's the thing. It's like we're seeking validation still, and it's like fuck. But that is a challenge, and that's why. We kind of want to be remote and go up the East Coast and travel and create our own little bubble and, I suppose, find our tribe. Because it's very hard here to find your tribe. That's what I found.